Okay, well, in the interest of time, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to today's masterclass on really how to really transform your KPI ecosystem and create a metrics-driven organization. Today, I'm really happy to be joined by Amit Misra. Amit is the Director of Analytics and Reporting Platforms at NYU Langone. And we'll talk about NYU Langone in a bit, but we are what particularly is exciting about having him talk with us today is that they have gone through a transformation. Ahmed has been with them about 13 years. He was previously with financial services, and he really brought a lot of the metrics-oriented approach. He'll talk about, it's driven from the leadership in the organization, but the NYU has gone through this massive transformation where really they drive very heavily from through KPIs, and they've been able to really transform the organization by doing so. And I'm just going to hopefully share with you what they've done, what kind of results they've had, and hopefully leave you with some tools and best practices that you can apply in your own organization as you move your organization to be more KPI focused, to be more data driven. So with that, I'm just one housekeeping note. If you have any questions as I'm just doing the presentation, things you want us to make sure we cover in the Q&A, please drop your questions into the Q&A box, and we'll go ahead and take care of them at the end of the presentation. So Amit, with that, thank you for joining us, and take it away.
Thank you for having me, Marius. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, based on where you're joining from. And thank you for attending this webinar. So my name is Amit Misra, as Marius introduced me. So I'm the Director of Analytics Platforms here, part of the Enterprise Data and Analytics practice at NYU Langone. And I won't take all the credit for the work that's been done here. Jeff Shine, who's our AVP, was instrumental in starting this process with our Dean and CEO, our former Dean and CEO, Dr. Robert Grossman. So the goal today is to talk about what we've done and talk about our journey and see if there's anything you can get from that. So I will quickly introduce us. We are NYU Langone Health. So we're an academic medical center based in New York City, and we have locations in other parts of New York, in Brooklyn and on Long Island as well. We also have over 300 faculty group locations or ambulatory locations around New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. We have a trifold mission to serve, teach, and discover. So we are a research institution in addition to being a school of medicine, as well as a hospital. So quick plug here. Fortune did a piece on us in August, earlier this year, about our transformation. So they interviewed our former CEO, Dr. Robert Grossman, and our board chairman, Kenneth Langone. And they talked about how instrumental data and analytics was in turning around this organization from a struggling hospital back in the 2000s to a massive powerhouse today. So they talked about a disciplined reliance on data and a relentless culture of accountability, and how the metrics and the dashboards we created helped align the organization, align their leadership with that vision. So it really came top down, right? So our CEO believed in the power of data and believed in the power of metrics, and instituted the accountability top down. Right, so this is a wonderful article. I think, Marius, if we can share this with the folks when you share the content of the presentation or the video, that'd be great. So you can read through it. I'm not going to go through all of it right now. So just a backtrack on how it began. So Dr. Grossman joined the organization in 2001 in radiology. He took over as the chair of radiology, and in 2007. Late 2007, he took over as CEO of NYU Langone. And we had lots of disparate data all over the place. There was no single sole source of truth, if you will. So we started out with pen and paper, sat down with some key members, and decided on creating a scorecard So this is sort of how it began, a simple scorecard which showed metrics for, showed us, metric trends for various departments. So that was sort of the birth of analytics here at NYU. Um, Analytics is not, it's not new, right? In most other corporate areas, when I was in financial services and other companies, people were using data, but with the fragmentation of how hospitals are structured and with providers and the various silos, a lot of it is much harder to integrate and implement. So anyway, so he had this vision to create a centralized data warehouse, build a centralized portal where all his team members, all his department chairs, all the providers and leadership of the organization would go to and be able to see the metrics measured across the organization, across all departments and all divisions and so on and so forth. So over time, we built a plethora of dashboards. We created over 850 metrics. We built a custom web portal so we could embed those dashboards within it. We went through a variety of technologies over the last 15, 16, 17 years, from using HTML to using SAP business objects, Flash-based dashboards, to using Tableau, and now we're moving on to using other tools as well. So we created a web-based portal, we centralized it. This is where all leadership from all campuses, all our missions, from education, research, and clinical, all our missions, users would log in. They would review the metrics, and the dashboards we had on this portal, and it was a tremendous success, right? So it was a single source of truth, and it was a tremendous success because everyone relied on the same source of truth. And if there was any question, the dean, Dr. Grossman, would just point back at them and say, "Hey, fix the dashboard. It's your data on this dashboard. Go back and work with IT and fix your dashboard. This is the single source of truth." So we garnered, a lot of usage from it over time, over 12,000 visits a month. Most of our dashboards refresh once a day, but we have several dashboards that are near real time as well. So we do have operational dashboards on there, monitor the ED or monitor other operational areas, right? The bed census, the OR. So we do have some near real-time dashboards in our Analytics Center. So again, just some numbers. We've now crossed the 1 million mark. I think we're 1.2 million now from 2010 when we launched the full Analytics Center. We have over 10,000 unique users that use this portal across the breadth, across the entire pyramid structure of the organization, right? From our leadership down to operational users. We today have over 124 dashboards. And like I said, we have over 800 metrics. And it kind of shows the trend, right? So we're eating our own dog food here, trending our usage and how our metrics are being consumed. So we do monitor very closely what dashboards and what metrics are used and by who. And we focus our improvements and enhancements based on that. So these are some of the key clinical metrics. These are sort of almost the North Star, right, for I guess in most medical centers, if not all, right? So the length of stay is such an important metric that shows you the performance of your hospital. And as you can see, we've through our analytics and through data, we've managed to influence the length of stay to come down from 0.99, almost 1 to 0.7. So that's a very important measure of not just profitability, but also it's been studied that the longer a patient stays in the hospital, the higher likelihood that they'd contract an infection, and obviously lower satisfaction, right? They want to come in, get treated, and leave the hospital and go home. So we've over time reduced our length of stay significantly. Our monthly discharges 4 times as many as we had back in 2012, so in the last 12 years. Mortality is all-time low, and that's dramatic from 0.7 to 0.22, 0.28, I'm sorry. Arguably some of the lowest in the country. And of course, the infection rate as well. And Dr. Grossman and his leadership team attribute a lot of this to our data-centric approach. So we talked about metrics, right? And we talked about how we built 800 plus metrics and how we centralized them and how we drove them. So I want to talk a little bit about that process. So we have a committee, right? We call the EARS subcommittee. We have a process that is run by a committee. It's a metrics subcommittee. And what we do is, as a process, we rely on the business. We have a session with the business stakeholders to define the definitions, the metrics, right? Define the rules around the metrics. We work with them to agree on the inclusions, the exclusions, identify what the champions are for those metrics, identify the business owners and business contacts for those metrics, and we sign off on the definition. We then present it. We go to the subcommittee, we present it, and we seek approval. Once we get approval for subcommittee, that's sort of stamped as our source of truth. We use Colibra as our metric definition management system. So we publish all of our metrics to our business glossary, which is in Colibra. And then we develop the metrics and link the metrics on our dashboards to those definitions. And I'll show you a little demo of that down the road when we do a live showcase. So this was key in establishing that single source of truth, right? Defining those metrics, right? Every department, every division, every nursing unit, every facility, we use the same definitions. All right. The other thing is the dashboards, right? So how do we centralize these dashboards? We have a dashboard development team. We have an enterprise analytics practice here, and we have developers that work on these enterprise dashboards. So we have a process through which we intake these requests for dashboards and metrics based on the visibility, based on the impact, based on the audience, and so on and so forth. So we welcome all requests, of course. So we have an intake process where a business stakeholder would go and enter their requirement, enter their request to build a metric or build out a dashboard that they'd like to monitor, and list out where they're getting this, what their data sources are, and how they want to measure this. We'll evaluate that and evaluate how best to disseminate that information, whether it should be a dashboard, whether it should be a report. What other ways are there other areas that this data is available already, right? So if it's available in Epic, if they have access to Epic, or if it's available in another Databricks environment. So we'll figure out what the best appropriate solution is. We'll go through a charter process again, get a sponsor, determine who the owner and champion is for that dashboard. We'll make a list of the metrics that belong on that dashboard from either the list of metrics we have. It could be existing metrics that we have that relate to their business goals, or there could be new metrics that we define as part of this process. We go through a project review process where we go into a meeting with our CIO and other leadership users. We present what the goals are for this. We seek approval from a project standpoint, and then we go ahead and develop and prioritize and develop this and deliver this to our end users. So most of our delivery again is through our Analytic Center that I'm going to showcase today. Again, our centralized portal, and we govern that portal. So those are certified metrics that are published on our portal. So so we had metrics and we had dashboards. Why are we looking for new portals or new tools, right? So like I said, we've gone through an evolution process. We had a simple portal that we cobbled together with HTML. We were embedding some dashboards and metrics on there. It was immensely successful, but it wasn't the easiest to navigate. It wasn't easy for a user to see what they had entitlements to, so what they had permissions to see. They couldn't really see thumbnails or any metadata about the dashboard, about the owner, about what metrics were on there. right? They'd see a title and a description. It was hard to disseminate much more information than that through our um, simple portal. They couldn't really search. Search was very kludgy. They couldn't really search, for metrics or search for any natural language keyword. We couldn't customize that. A lot of effort would have to be put into customize that and maintain those customizations. We didn't have a lot of customizations based on role or based on, who the audience was. So it was again a simple portal. We didn't have a lot of collaborative ability, so users couldn't collaborate a lot with amongst themselves. Um, we didn't have a lot of alerting or subscription. We had some subscriptions because our tool Tableau allowed it, but not enough. We couldn't create a digest or a burst or some of that. Some of those functionality was missing. Were missing. And again, no role-specific views. So everyone saw the same view. They clicked on a link and they opened the dashboard if they had access. If not, they were directed to request access to a dashboard. So it was very simple. In our search and having spoken with a lot of our users about these limitations and the desire to overcome some of these, we discovered Metric Insights. What we've done this year, we've actually gone live with Metric Insights in March, earlier this year, March of 2025. And we migrated all of the existing portal features over to Metric Insights. So everything we had as far as the centralized, governed, certified portal with our dashboards and metrics on there, integrated with our definition management system with Colibra. All of that was ingested into Metric Insights. And then we made a lot of enhancements to it, right? So we were able to allow for additional navigation elements like the thumbnail and list views. We were able to integrate the definitions right within the metadata. So then users would be able to search for a keyword and be able to see what dashboards uh, met that search, met that need. We were also able to add additional metadata like the contacts and owners and allow for additional collaboration. And I'll show you some of that in the demo. Even access automation, we're able to work with our existing ticketing management system and integrate that. So now if a user doesn't have access, they hit a button, it opens a ticket and comes to us, and we have a full cycle for access automation. I talked about Colibra ingestion. So with Metric Insights, we don't have to have our users leave the portal to be able to see the definitions like we did before. So we had the definitions, we had the dashboards, and we have links for the users to go back and forth. Now with Metric Insights, we have all that in one place, and I'll showcase some of that as well. In addition, there were other use cases that I mentioned that we solved for, things like the chairs digest. So we have our leadership wants the chairs to focus on some key metrics. So we send out an automated burst to the department chairs, to leadership users, and to division chiefs uh, with those metrics on there filtered for their specific area that they're responsible for. So today we combine metrics across 5 different dashboards into one burst and add a table of contents and send it out through an automated solution. Some of these bursts could have up to 140, 150 pages. And so it's quite incredible that we're able to do that without having to custom code it or having to put a lot of manual intervention into it. We're also looking at some additional applications that we're just about ready to deploy, and actually I will be able to demo these for you today. One is called the My KPIs personalized page for favorite KPIs. So we have 800 metrics, 850 metrics almost. We have these across 120 dashboards. So a lot of times users have to navigate between dashboards, reapply the filters, and proactively have to go in and look at these metrics and study them. What we were able to do is working with the Metric Insights, we were able to develop a custom app that pulls these metrics right off those Tableau dashboards. So we're actually able to pull the metrics off the Tableau dashboards, right? It's very powerful. We're not recreating those metrics. We're using the same semantic layer. We're using our Tableau logic as a semantic layer and we're simply pulling the metrics off those dashboards and presenting them to a user on one view and allowing them to configure that view for themselves. It's very powerful, and we'll show you a demo of that. And last but not least, department-owned dashboard. So we're an enterprise. We're the enterprise team, so we do all the enterprise analytics and reporting. But we also have about 700 developers within our various departments and divisions that like to use their own analytics tools. They like to use Tableau and Alteryx and Power BI and other tools. They have access to data and they do their own analytics, right? And they publish this to a separate environment. So we have several Tableau environments, um, and they publish this to their own department-owned environments. And some of these dashboards are available to our leadership and available to their leadership to consume. These users are existing users of our Analytics Center. So instead of having to navigate through multiple portals, our goal is to eventually bring all the department-owned dashboards also into the Analytics Center and be able to distinguish between the enterprise curated certified metrics and the non-enterprise department-owned metrics, but allow for people to be able to access all of this information in one portal. Here is an example of that department chair digest I talked about. So this is a screenshot from one of our prior digests that we sent out. You can see it creates this wonderful digest on top. You can see that it creates a table of content. So our leadership users receive the data for all the departments. So they get a distribution. This is the leadership version of that, where they can see a table of contents for all the departments, and then they can click through that and review the metrics for the specific departments that they're interested in. Of course, if you're a department chair for a specific department, you only receive the data for your department. And if you're a division chief, then you only receive the data for your division. So again, this is an automated burst that Metric Insights sends out to our users. Here's a quick snippet of the My KPIs page. Like I said, it's a personalized page. I'll demo how this works and how we've created the library. But like I said, it gives people the ability to create their own personalized dashboard, if you will. They can pull metrics from across various dashboards, put them in one place, apply symmetric filters using the same dimensions, or dimension that they're interested in, and filter for those metrics across dashboards in one place. They can also, of course, always subscribe to alerts. And also, very powerful, I think, is observe correlations. So they can overlay a metric on top of another or overlay multiple time periods, last year versus this year, and compare the trends. Won't spend too much more time on this. Last but not least, department-owned dashboards. We talked about this. So we'll show you what our Analytics Center looks like. What we envision is being able to centralize all of these dashboards together. So we're working on defining those governance rules. The technology exists, so we can do it today. We're working on defining what the minimum viable governance criteria are in order for us to bring these dashboards in, right? So defining things like, formats, definitions, descriptions, ownership, things of that nature, before we allow people to publish their department dashboards to the Analytics Center. We're very excited about that. Other use cases, again, bursting use cases. We have several use cases. This is one we do today with another tool where we send a notification to the physician in the event that they're late to the OR. We also copy their boss on it. We copy the department chair on it, right? And the leadership receives this email every day again, letting them know how many, which providers were late to the OR by how many minutes and what the reasons were. We have significantly reduced our late starts in our OR through this process. And what we're hoping is right now there are some manual elements to this. We're hoping with the bursting piece, we also automate something like this, very powerful metric like this, to have a real impact, real visible, real measurable impact in the OR. All right, so before we jump into the demo, are there any questions that I can take?
We
Anything,
don't, nothing yet.
Marius?
So I
Okay,
think
all right,
go
sounds
ahead and
good.
jump in and we'll do the any Q&A at the end.
I guess everyone's waiting for the
Yeah, want to see the demo and then yeah, and
demo.
then if anyone has it, yeah, please drop any questions you have in the Q&A.
Awesome. Just launching my portal here. Okay. All right, Marius, my screen's up. Let me know if you can see it. Do you see my screen, Marius, or? Okay.
My audio was off. I see it. You've
Okay,
got
perfect.
your
Thank you.
NYU Langone Health landing page
Perfect.
there.
So this is our internet portal. I'm sure most of you all have an internet portal. So this is where all the employees log in, and they have all the resources, the employees, various apps. We have over 800 applications here at NYU. So they go and they get their notifications and all the resources. So it's very central to our employee um, daily journey, right? Employees' daily journey. They always log in here and they navigate from here. So here you'll see central. This is what we have, what we call the Analytic Center. So it's front end center. So anyone that logs in sees this button. They click on the Analytic Center and they're taken to the actually I'll launch the staging portal, which is what I'm going to use for demo. They're taken to the Analytic Center. What we have is we have a custom app, a custom landing page, which shows you your alerts and welcomes you. Welcome, Amit Misra. Shows you when your last login was, and then shows you alerts. And these alerts are, department specific across, for various metrics. So what the alerts are for the key metrics, like I talked about, are North Star metrics that we monitor, and some accolades and awards, right, that we've received. So things that we want people to know about, things that we want people to keep an eye on, or be wary of. Um, from this page, we also have some announcements. So this is where we make announcements when we announce new dashboards and metrics, when we have downtime, we make updates, etc. Right? All of our announcements are made on the right side here. We also have some links here on in the banner where you can navigate to the dashboard catalog and look at the dashboards you have access to. You can navigate to Colibra, which is our business glossary system. You have some training resources. So we have some tip sheets and links on other areas like reporting or operational analytical resources. And of course, they can contact us. Right? Either they can go directly and request access to a dashboard, or they can email us with a question they have or with any feedback they have. Now, most typically, with users interested in our dashboards or our analytics, so they click on the dashboard catalog and they're brought into this catalog. So we group our dashboards by our mission areas, right? So you'll see the categories on the left side. Obviously, we have a special category for COVID-19, but beyond that, we have our enterprise, finance, some patient care cohorts, research, education, even MCIT. We do publish a lot of MCIT metrics that our internal MCIT teams do use. On top, we have a search banner, so you can group, of course, by content type, often the dashboard, the data updates, etc., or by certification if you do have certified and uncertified metrics. You can search by tags. So these are our metrics. These are the various metrics we talked about, the 800 plus metrics that we have defined. And we have them all ingested into Metric Insights. And this is completely automated. We don't go and add metrics here. All of this, it flows in from Colibra. So we have an integration with Colibra and all of our metrics flow in. And they also automatically associate themselves with dashboard. And I'll show you some of that in a demo. But they can come in here and they can search for a specific metrics, a specific metric. So they can search for length of stay, average length of stay, and it shows them what dashboards have the average length of stay, or the number of discharges, etc. And of course, you have a keyword filter. So if you didn't know exactly what the metric's called, or if you had a keyword, not all keywords are metrics. So they could search for something specific here, and it would bring up the dashboard that those keywords exist on. Again, we have two views here, right? Some of you may be familiar with this. We have the thumbnail and the list view. Our old portal only had the list view, and we're glad that we have both the thumbnail and the list view here. So we're able to, depending on the user preference, they're able to select one or the other, and it saves the view that they prefer. They can save this as their preference, and it saves it there. Regardless what view you select, you have the same information available to you. So you see what dashboards you have access to. If I didn't have access to a dashboard, I would see a lock symbol. Unfortunately, I'm an admin, so I have access to all the dashboards. I don't see a lock symbol. If I didn't have access and I saw a lock symbol, I could click on that lock symbol and submit a request automatically into my ticketing management system, Ivanti, for request to the dashboard. But before I did that, I could look at some of the information about the dashboard, right? So we have, again, all this information resides in Colibra, our descriptions, our metrics, our keywords, our business owners and contacts. The definitions behind these, the metadata is all, the reference data is all in Colibra. And through an automated process, we ingest that information from Colibra into Metric Insights, and we tie that with the dashboards. So we're not manually populating or attaching any of these things. Now, if a user wanted to look at the metric or the definition for that metric, they could click on that, and it shows them the definition here, shows them the definition, the inclusions, the exclusions. Of course, you can choose what you want users to see for your metrics. Also shows them who the business owners are and business contacts are. Right? So if they had a question about a metric, they could click the name, it opens an email, puts in the metric name, they can type a question and send that to a business, to a contact with a question, or reach out to the business owner. So they can see that regardless of whether or not they have access to the dashboard. I'm going to open up a specific dashboard here. Let's talk about our outcomes dashboard. So it's one of our key dashboards, very widely used, has some of our North Star metrics on here. So clicking on the dial opens up the dashboard within the viewer, and they're able to view the dashboard, and they're able to use all the functionality of the tool, the underlying tool. We use Tableau, but if you use Power BI or another tool, you'd be able to inherently preserve all the functionality that tool offers within this frame. You can also extract a lot of these, and you can tie them to metric insight filters, which could help if you want those filters to be preserved as users navigate between dashboards. We choose to have them within the dashboard. So they can, of course, navigate through these dashboards. They can look at their metrics. They can slice and dice this data as they want. But they can also subscribe to this. They can also email this to another user. They can also set up a digest, right? So they can select their favorite dashboards or any dashboards of their choice, and they can create a digest. I think that's pretty cool. When a user creates a digest, they can choose to have multiple dashboards combined into one digest sent to them at whatever frequency they desire, rather than having 5 or 10 emails with different dashboards and different metrics be sent to them, like some of these native tools do. So I think that's a very powerful feature, and our users do tend to love that a lot. Other than that, they can obviously favorite their dashboards. So we have, if you notice, when I came into the catalog, your favorites show up on top. So they can favorite their dashboards. They can obviously open this outside of this window if they want to compare two different dashboards. They can open this in a new window and open up another dashboard and compare it, or full screen if they were presenting the dashboard. So lots of cool features. In the bottom, they can also enable collaboration. We are still playing with the idea of collaboration and how we want to implement it, but you can also have a comments section enabled where people can ask questions or make comments, and the owners or the owners, the business owners, the dashboards can answer those questions, right, for them. So it's very powerful. To navigate back, again, the same information is available when you're within a dashboard as well. I didn't show you that, but they can also, when they're looking at a dashboard here, they can look at the information icon, and this shows you specific, this shows you the metrics and the keywords specific to the dashboard you're looking at. So this filters it specifically for the metrics you're reviewing on this dashboard. So I'm looking at the inpatient discharges dashboard, so I can click on a metric here, and it'll bring me right to the definition for that metric. Also shows me again who the owners and contacts are. So very powerful, right? Very powerful feature and very transparent. Any questions here? Okay, so I talked about certification flags. So we're also working to implement certification. So this is, for example, a certified metric. There's different levels of certification that Metric Insights allows. In our case, we're looking at just one level, whether they're enterprise certified or they're department owned. So in this case, we have added a check mark, which tells you that this is a certified metric from our business glossary, and it's an enterprise dashboard that we publish. Department-owned dashboard would not be a certified dashboard, would have other information, would have the, of course, we expect that have a description and some information about the owner, but it will be a non-certified dashboard as an example. Okay, so going back home. So I talked about this, but same information on the list view as well. So you can look at a dashboard, you can hover over it, you can see all the information about the metrics and who the owners are and so on and so forth right from this view. This is one example of how we plan to implement the department dashboards. So we would have our enterprise mission areas, and then we would have department dashboards listed here. Again, very similar looking, except they would be uncertified, but they would have some basic information about the dashboard and about the owners. So if a user had questions about that dashboard, they would reach out directly to the owners of that dashboard. All right, sounds good. So moving on, I'd love to talk about the My KPIs view. So you've seen all our dashboards and metrics, and you've heard that our users want a more customizable, more personalized view. And what we were able to do is achieve that with the My KPIs app. So let's quickly navigate over to the My KPIs app here. So this is a custom app that we worked with Metric Insights to build. When a user launches this app, they get presented with a splash screen. So at this point, I'm going to start from scratch. I don't have any KPI selected at this point. I'll hit the Get Started button, and it'll load a library of metrics that I've pre-curated, right? So these are admin curated metrics. So we've published these metrics to a library for them to consume. And you can see that here. You can see the library of metrics that we've published. And we've also used a similar category-based delineation here. So we have metrics across patient care, research, and finance for our initial deployment. Within each metric, you can filter and look at metrics either across all, right, overall data. So you can look at metrics across all facilities, all departments, all divisions, and all nursing units by selecting the all filter. Or if you were a department chair, you may want to look at metrics for your specific department. So I could filter for TISH, medicine, and even cardiology across all my nursing units. So just like an Amazon search, I guess, it shows you the list of metrics available for that criteria. So you'll see I have 6 metrics available, 6 patient care metrics available for that criteria. I can choose to move one metric at a time or just move all my metrics to my cart. On the right side, I can sort these based on the order of importance. I can do an A to Z or Z to A, and I can even sort the categories. So I'll do the same thing across 8 different. So a department chair may want to look at metrics across not just clinical, but also his research portfolio. So you can do the same thing here. Again, you can select one or multiple metrics, select that over and bring them into your cart. Last but not least, same thing with finance as well. Right, so you can bring finance metrics here as well. So once you brought these, depending on your preference, you can reorder these by dragging and dropping these. So very simple user interface for an end user. Like I said, almost as simple as just using Amazon or just searching, adding things to your cart and checking out. So hitting the save button creates my own personalized dashboard. So these dashboards, these metrics are again curated, are sourced from underlying Tableau dashboards. So we didn't rebuild these metrics. So these metrics, so we didn't have to, we don't, if you change the logic on your source dashboards, the logic updates here as well. So we don't have to maintain this in multiple places. So in this view, there's a few pieces we built in. So obviously you can look at the metric, but you can also change it to a bar or line graph. You can look at the definitions. Just as important as linking the definitions to the dashboard metrics, you can look at your definitions right from within here as well. So you can click on the same link. Again, it pulls the data from Colibra and pulls up the definition for that metric here and shows you the owner and contact. We are trending, and this is configurable. You can trend a certain number of data points, or you can add filters, as we've done, to filter based on a time period or favorability or refresh date, etc. So in this case, I can filter just for my finance metrics and filter for the divisions or filter for the dimensions within that, or I can filter for my patient care metrics and so on and so forth. I can look at favorability. So if they're trending based on based on how they're trending or based on how they compare the variance to a target that you have. We're in the process of building that out, actually, the variance. But you'll be able to see the favorable, unfavorable metrics. And you may want to focus on unfavorable metrics or favorable, depending on your goals. Size, so based on your screen resolution or your preference, again, you can look at different sizes or based on date or alphabetic sorting. Like I said, we're also in the process of adding time filters here. So they'll be able to select a fiscal year to date or a calendar year to date default selection, a default time period to filter all the metrics by that time period. Now, so we've looked at these. Let's dive into one of these metrics. So obviously this shows you the breadcrumb as well, right? So you can have multiple, you can have the same metric by different dimensions. So you can have multiple divisions, departments, or you can compare two facilities against each other or two departments against each other. So you can have as many tiles as you like of the same metric sliced by a different dimension or different combination of dimensions. Of course, you can also go into these metrics. So this is now additional functionality that we allow. And again, this is part of the core product that Metric Insight supports today. So we're loading the metric itself. So we can take a deeper look at the trends or look at or compare the metrics. So again, now we've launched the metric, we've opened up the metric. You can see the trend and we're showing a default time period, but a user can go and filter that to a specific time range that they're interested in. We talked about overlays. I've gone ahead and saved some overlays to show you in the interest of time. So I compared it to last year, same time last year, right? So at any point, you can look at how you're doing 1 year ago, or you can look at the last 6-month moving average. and you can overlay that on top of your existing metric. They also have some statistical charting that you can do. Um, and of course, like I mentioned, you can enable targets and show variance with respect to targets as well, which we're working on enabling. Now here, there's some powerful things you can do like overlay. So I overlaid 1 year ago. You can add other compare lines. You can even add metrics. So I can also select another metric. So I can choose to overlay readmissions or something else on top of this for the same dimensions, which is very powerful, correlating two different metrics to see how they compare with each other. And of course, compare lines as well. So you can add additional compare lines and be able to look at compare time periods against one another. You can annotate. So here you can also annotate. So for specific outliers, you can select a data point, click on it, add an annotation. Hey, Jeff, take a look at this spike and save it. And then you can share that. So I can share that with Jeff to look at. So I've created an annotation, then I can go and say, email this metric, and I can share that with Jeff. And if Jeff has access to this, of course, he needs entitlements to this. If he has access to this, he will receive that message. And when he clicks on that, he's brought into the metric to look at the annotation and review that data point. Last but not least, you can also subscribe to alerts. So you can set up thresholds where you can define a rule based on a fixed value, prior value, average of values, or even a combination of values um, to set up an alert for yourself. So in this case, I'll just simulate a simple alert, which is great. That lets you simulate because when you set it up, you don't know what you're setting up to receive. So I just said, alert me if the overall numbers are over 1,000 discharges, and alert me the first time. Alert me every time we cross that threshold. And I'm simulating based on the last 30 months to see how many times that alert would have triggered to see if it would have been useful. So I can play with these criteria. Once I'm satisfied with that, I can set up that alert to come to me as an email, and I can define the format and define what should be included in that alert as well. So you can customize subjects, you can customize exactly how, what should be in that alert, what charts, or how I should receive it via email, phone, SMS, etc. And hitting finish will set that alert up. And the last thing is, like I said, we are toying with the idea of collaboration, right? So with Metric Insights, we're able to ask questions and collaborate. So I sent a message to Jeff. He can comment on it, and others can see that as well. As a business owner, I can also allow an expert to comment on this. So if there's any general guidance they want to publish about the metrics, they can add expert analysis, right? So if it's a common question being asked or something about the metric, or if there's a delay in updating the metric, they can add their own expert analysis to that metric, which I think is very powerful as well. So that's sort of the My KPIs page. As you can see, we're super excited to be able to roll this out to end users and for them to be able to use this to monitor their metrics across their units and across dashboards, and be able to subscribe and collaborate on these metrics as well. I'll pause here for questions.
Thank you, Amit. We do have some questions, so let me read some off to you,
Sure.
and you can address. So, how do you govern access and training on metadata for the broader user community?
Yes, a lot of it is defined when we meet with the business stakeholders, right? So a lot of our access is role-based. So based on what department they're a part of, what their role is in the organization, whether they're a provider or not a provider. So we have a lot of role-based rules defined. So we have AD groups that are built based on those roles. So when we meet with the business stakeholders, define these metrics, we also define the audience and define who would benefit from these and who should have access to these. So again, we divvy them up on a broad level based on whether they're clinical or research or finance, and then again within that based on what hierarchy, what level of authorization the user has, and what um, the user's position is, right, with that within
So,
the
so I,
organization.
I guess maybe you're saying this, or just to sort of clarify, you mentioned 800 plus metrics, but most people in the organization would not have access to all that. They
Correct.
wouldn't be, because that could be overwhelming. Which ones do
That's
I want?
correct.
Which ones do I look at? There's a much smaller universe that they would actually have access to that's relevant to them and
That's
that they should
correct.
be
Yep.
looking at.
Yep. They can look at the definitions for every metric. We don't. We Our glossary is business glossary is completely public, and there's no entitlements on our business glossary. So if they even if they didn't have access to Hack Composite, they can go in there and understand what Hack Composite is, and if it's relevant, they can request access through our automated workflow, right? They can go either ask for access to the dashboard or reach out to the business owner and say, hey, I think we should have access because this is our function, this is what we do. But overwhelmingly, we know who our clinical users are, and when we meet with the business stakeholders in the beginning, they define those out for us. They define what roles and what users should have access, and we define entitlements based on that, and we ingest entitlements across all our systems, our dashboards, metric insights, metrics, based on their membership.
Okay. One other question here is, well, what do you think is the biggest hurdle with integrating department dashboards? And in particular, sort of aligning sort of, predefined metrics that you already have in definitions to how these things are being interpreted by departments and how they're measuring it.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I think governance is the hardest part, right? I mean, you only have so much bandwidth, right? I mean, um, you can define the rules, you can define. So when departments build dashboards, I have 700 developers building 5,000 dashboards a year. I'm not governing all those dashboards. I'm not looking over the formatting. I'm not validating those dashboards, right? So it gets a little tricky. So I think the key there is governance, right? So you need to set those ground rules, set some, hey, our leadership users or Analytic Center users are used to these colors, these formats, these templates. These are the definitions we have. If you are publishing a dashboard with that metric, we, strongly suggest you align with our definitions. If not, we suggest that you provide some additional information, right? Go to Calibra and add that information in there and link it to your dashboard. So that's one one challenge, right? Because some of these developers are not necessarily technical, right? They could be doctors, they could be nurses, they
Hmm.
could be operational users, right? So that's one. Um, and the second is how do you defer, right? So when people go to the Analytics Center, um, by default, they think it's our dashboard, right? How do you defer to expertise, right? How do you ensure that you direct the question to the appropriate? How do you differentiate between that certified and department known and direct the right questions to the right people, right? Without being the bottleneck in the middle, which I think is what we're testing and what I showed you with metric insights. We're able to distinguish, we're able to flag them, we're able to put that specific contact on there, right? And educate people. So if you have questions, go to the contact, right? So I think some of that helps us navigate those challenges.
I mean, another question here is on the scope that you've done here, and you just focus on clinical, operational, financial metrics, or you also include things like HR, workforce
Yep.
planning, other things as well?
Yeah, no, good question. We do. So we do have HR, workforce planning. Yeah, we do have others as well. I think as a hospital, we're very focused on we're a research teaching hospital, so we're very focused on education, research, and patient care. But we do have a lot of we have HR metrics as well. We have space, right? We monitor space usage and other things as well. So we do have other metrics in other areas as well. And
Okay.
of course, we have teams. So the HR teams, right? They also have analysts that also develop their own dashboards. So that's also where the department and own dashboards come in, right? So our HR teams and we have 700 developers across 230 groups. So very powerful, right? So all these developers are churning out their own dashboards as well. So we're focused sort of on the centralized, right? So like I said earlier, based on who's the audience, what is it a stamp metric that we want to, um, sort of adopt across all departments, divisions. So we focus more on the enterprise metrics, and we train our department users to build their own dashboards as well. They know their data well, right? So they know their goals, they know their data. We give them our platforms, we give them Tableau, we give them Prep, we give them a portal to publish to, we give them support, right? And using our data, our centralized data warehouse, and or Databricks, and then they build a lot of these dashboards as well. And in some cases, we do integrate their dashboards. If they work closely with us and they publish their metrics and they format the dashboards like an enterprise dashboard, we do allow them to publish them as certified dashboards, right? So some of our dashboards, some of the dashboards here, some of the metrics here, maybe 100 metrics on here out of the 800 are actually built by departments. But because they followed all the governance protocols for an enterprise metric, they have been allowed to publish these. So education, right, is one example. They have their own education IT that are building these education dashboards. These aren't built by us, but we allow them to publish this as a certified dashboard, right? Because they have the metrics, they have business owners and contacts, they follow our rules, right? So it's a good question. Yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of questions coming here, so
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
run out of time, but let's keep on going here. Can you share a little bit about how long it's taken to develop all of this, the framework, the platform, the metrics?
17 years. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think setting the ground rules in the beginning was key, right? So top down, again, like I said, our dean believed in this vision of centralizing the data, making the data transparent, and adopting this single source of truth, right? It didn't matter if a department say a chair came and said, "Oh, but my report says this." It doesn't matter if the enterprise metric says, that your department is not performing, you have to fix the data. Either the data is incorrect, we fix it, or you go fix your metrics, right? So agreeing on this was the biggest challenge. Adoption, right? Not everyone likes or wants to be measured on a dashboard. So so getting everyone to adopt that, getting everyone to agree to that was the initial challenge. But after that, we've developed the process. I talked about how we curate metrics. We created a subcommittee. We have a process. We document. Um, um, we we debate and discuss and agree on the definitions, and we publish them to a public glossary, right? So then the public glossary is our dictionary. Just like a dictionary, now anyone can go to the dictionary, open it up, and look at the definition for that word. It can be a department user, it can be any enterprise user. Everyone has access to it. 53,000 employees in our organization can do that.
Mhm. Terrific. Another question, maybe this also speaks to what you're doing now. Maybe you can speak a little bit to what you're planning. The question here is dashboards cannot answer all questions. How do you manage follow-ups or deeper dive questions for users?
Yeah, so it's a good question. Yeah, so we do have a lot of case level detail on the dashboards, but of course, there's always questions that are unanswered. But we do rely on our business stakeholders, right? So we have, like I said, our dashboards do have business owners, right? This data is often coming from other applications, right? We're sourcing this from a Research Navigator or Epic or other sources. So if there's a question that we can't answer, either we can bring the data in to improve our dashboard to answer that question, or we can direct people back up the chain, right? Back up to the business owner and back up to the application owner, where they may have the right data to answer those questions. We're also working a lot with our we call it the DAAIT, our AI team. We have a bunch of we have a bit large team of doctorates in AI, and they support us with large language models, and we integrate some of this data we plug in to their LLMs, and we get responses. So users actually we do some AI responses. We're also building chatbots so we can chat with this data. So what we envision having is having the dashboard up, but having the ability for a person on the side to be able to chat with the data and ask questions of it, and whatever the um, AI and whatever the LLM use behind it can be used to also fine tune some of those responses and bring back additional information from other systems, perhaps in that chatbot, even if the
So
data is not necessarily on the dashboard.
all right, so that's all the time we have. We have a bunch more questions here, but what we're going to do is Zoe's going to follow up, and for those of you that ask questions that we can get to, we'll try to get questions from Amit, and then just respond via email, follow up with you to get your answers. Thank you, Amit, so much for joining and for sharing this. Particularly you've been just so forthcoming here with everything you're using. Show live demo of things in your system. I think it's been really valuable for the community here to see all the great things that you're doing and and hopefully learn from a lot of this long journey, but this very successful journey that NYU has gone through, and the technology and both not just technology, but practices and policies and all the people that were involved in making this work. So thank you for your time. Thank you everyone else for joining, and we'll look forward to seeing you at the next webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marius. Have a good one, everyone.